Welcome to Trustee Talk, and thank you for joining us. I'm Dick Murgatroyd. Our guest for this edition of Anderson Trustee Talk is the president of the Board of Trustees, Andrew Pappas. Welcome back.
Welcome.
I haven't seen you since last year.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It's
I
been a
can't
while.
remember how long it's been.
It's been since last year.
You look the same.
Of course, well, I can't do much about that. You're looking well.
Thank you.
Yeah, prosperous.
I don't know about that, but I can't. I'll fool them.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
How are things going in Anderson Township?
Things are well. We have a lot of good things going on, as you've talked about in past trustee talks. We are doing quite well in Anderson Township. We do have our challenges, as does a lot of the nation, and we'll delve into that here shortly. But overall, I'm very pleased with the direction we had an election. Mm-hmm. Dee Stone is now on as a fellow trustee.
I think she's our guest on the next edition of Trustee Talk, as a matter of fact.
Great.
Yep.
I'll be watching.
We'll get a chance to meet her.
She'll do fine. She's done a great job integrating with Josh and myself. We continuing on the good path that we've been given. We were very, I've said this before. We're very, very fortunate. I couldn't have been put into an easier or luckier position. It's not like I came into an area that was floundering or, had its significant challenges, as really a lot of other townships have had. I was very, very lucky, and I consider myself about the luckiest guy around.
If you look at I just saw the new edition of the Insight, Anderson Insights.
See my photograph.
I did. I saw that. Yeah, right. I touched it up well.
Photoshop.
Actually, you really, yeah.
Were you sent 500 of them to my mom.
Were you young when they took that picture? Nice. But there's 2 pages of all of the improvements that are happening in this area, which is, when you look at other areas, I mean, it's amazing how much is going on.
If you just look at, like you said, other areas, and you get this, I think this just came out February, and you see all the development that's going on in Anderson, you just kind of pinch yourself.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
very fortunate, very blessed.
And in the last just few years,
couple years,
a couple of years, it's really just taken off. Now I know a lot of planning went in.
It happened
to
before
get it to that point, and now it's all coming together. But all the stuff you're doing is good stuff, and it's just improving, constantly improving this township, and which already is a great place to be.
If you treat businesses and people well, good things happen.
That's right.
And we're not being, we're not showing favoritism by any stretch, but we are pro-business, pro-development, and pro-citizens. Try to be reactive to our residents whenever they have a concern or need something, or they express to us a concern or need. We try to address it in a quick and professional manner.
Well, and you're obviously doing a good job at it. There's an awful lot happening in the center, up around.
Give it a year.
The Anderson Center. Yeah.
I can't wait. The next year is going to be so pivotal. I was just looking at, there was a submittal for the development of the apartment complex up here at the top of the hill, and I'm just, I'm stunned as to what this place is going to look like in a year or two. I just can't wait to see it happen.
It'll be
movie theater, apartments, new businesses, new retail, some new restaurants at the corner of Wolf Angle out there in Beechmont. It's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be nice.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be nice.
This will be a hub, center, a destination for Anderson Township, and I couldn't be any happier.
Well, I mean, it should be. I mean, it's what you all are doing, and the planning that's going into it has been just phenomenal. And when you look at Kroger, Kroger started, when are they going to start their construction?
I think our last talk that you and I had, I said soon, and I'm going to stick with soon. They're going to start soon. I would expect Kroger to break down. They've done some utility work. They've moved some power lines. They've cut the trees down, the brush that was there. They've cleared the site. I think that what you're going to find is spring. Kroger will start getting started.
Well, because the whole Kmart thing is pretty much all that demolition's pretty much gone, and they're in the process.
Did you see
of
the walls
building
up for the new theater?
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive.
I mean, it is. It really is. I mean, and that's moved pretty quickly.
Very quickly. We have some work to
considering-
do on Anderson Center Way, and we have some improvements to make there. But this is, instead of having the focal point be the entrance off of Beechmont now, 5 miles is going to become another entrance, and that'll help alleviate the flow in and
which
out
will
of the
make
center.
a difference, yeah.
Sure.
And there's a lot going on just on Beechmont Avenue. I mean, all the fact that, as I read in here, eventually between here and 275, that corridor, you're going to eliminate a lot of those cuts.
Not us, ODOT.
ODOT is.
So the state is going to come
Yeah.
through and eliminate, modify necessarily. If you have more than one, they'll probably bring you down to one.
Yeah.
They're also going to try to facilitate cross parcel easements and access. The way my property, for example, I have an easement with my neighbors, so some of the overflow can come onto my property. The way Target is down there at the end, the way
Yeah.
you can go all the way through. ODOT is trying to limit, and that does improve traffic flow. As a matter of fact, the improvements they made to 275 in Beechmont out there
Absolutely.
in Claremont has improved the flow getting out of, past 275 going out. So that traffic used to back up regularly towards 8 Mile, and that's now gone. I mean, for the most part, I haven't seen that in a number of years, a number of months.
Yeah.
So,
But all of that will help. I think that'll help alleviate some of it, because you still have a lot of.
Well, you have a lot of
congestion,
people.
but you
It's
have
a
lot of
busy
people.
area.
It
It's
is.
a busy area.
But doing that will help move traffic.
Movement of
and
traffic
eliminate-
is key.
Yeah.
You don't want people to avoid Beechmont. You want people to be comfortable on Beechmont. It can be busy just as long as it flows.
Yeah.
And it's
nothing wrong
not
with that.
super congested. So we have a lot going on. We have, I will update you on probably the topic du jour that seems to be pretty popular nowadays. Last you spoke with Josh at
We
the last.
talked about Beech Acres.
Talked
at
about Beech
length.
Acres.
Yeah.
Well, I will give you and the viewers an update on Beech Acres. At our last interim trustee meeting, that was last week or the first week in February, we voted to pull out of negotiations to purchase Beech Acres for multiple reasons. We had voted to assume or have their contract assigned to us, and that was proving to be a little more complicated than initially thought due to some wording in the contract that was problematic. We also wanted to give the plan for the high school on that site to be vetted, and it was, and then proved to be lacking, so that became a moot point. And also Beech Acres said that their timetable wasn't as critical or as short as they had originally forecast, and I don't know what's going to happen there. I was at a park board meeting last night, and I know that the park board is going to start talking to Beech Acres again. I don't know if that means they're going to go for all of it again or part of it or whatever they decide. That's their decision. We'll see. But I'm hopeful that what we're going to see at Beech Acres is a mix of a couple of things. I am a big fan personally. I think it's important that we protect the recreational space that we have there,
Yeah.
and work with the park board to do that. And I'm hopeful that what it's currently zoned for takes place in other parts of the Beech Acres complex. But a big decision like that, what I felt personally was, this is a big decision that really affects the future of Anderson Township, and if that shouldn't necessarily be made by the Board of Trustees, it should be made by the people. So if we hear from the people that they want to buy all of Beech Acres and they're willing to support that in some sort of tax levy, which would have to be the case, then that's their decision to make. I don't want it to be seen as something that 2 or 3 people made the decision and without the will of the people behind them. I want the people to be heard on this issue. And so there's not a time crunch. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about what can happen at Beech Acres and present it to the public in such a fashion that their input is heard and their will is done.
Well, and it's a major piece of property.
It is.
In a very central area of Anderson Township, so you don't want to just be willy-nilly.
You don't want to
about
get it
what-
wrong.
Yeah, you don't want to get it wrong. 'cause,
You're not going to have a whole lot of
No.
chances to redo it again.
once you've made it.
I would like to dispel some of the rumors that I've heard, because some people are putting out, Facebook is a wonderful thing,
Yes, it is.
but just because you see it on Facebook doesn't make it true, no matter what you might believe. There were some, I don't know the reasoning behind it. I don't know what the reason was, but people were saying that, or some rumors were spread that, we had wanted to put retail down there, maybe a Walmart, maybe a tire store, possibly now, what's the latest thing I heard that we have too many of? Wings place. You seem to be getting a plethora of wings places, which is fine. Our job is, again, not to necessarily decide what that retail business is, but to make the environment healthy and vibrant to attract all different types of retail, not pick winners and losers, but just make the water safe where people want to come in and participate. So we'll see what happens. That is not true. Beech Acres is zoned single-family residences, and that's what it's zoned for. We have no intent on changing that from single-family residences to retail. That would have to be something that would go before zoning and eventually probably before the Board of Trustees. So I wanted to just dispel that. That's not true.
That was good that you did that.
Well, unfortunately, like I said,
Well, but there are some people who take great joy in spreading misinformation.
They have ulterior motives.
They do, and they don't have a lot to do otherwise sometimes. So
Maybe I'll see if I can start getting into that, but I have too much going on.
I know you do. Well, the good news is, I think the good news is that it's not a critical issue now.
No.
That's
Beech Acres is not. Beech Acres facility is not going anywhere
No.
anytime soon. It's not going to sit empty. They're not going anywhere. I think that you're going to find a healthy, vibrant, and educational discussion going on with the public as to what the community wants there. As I said, my preference, I do not want to see indoor rec space, which we have so little of, go away.
No.
I would love to see the indoor rec space there protected, expanded, modernized, maybe gone in with another entity perhaps that would include both. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen. Not the one high school, but the Anderson High School plan that was floated was intriguing, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
We needed time to vet it. We vetted it. The numbers didn't add up. So
Well, and that's a good decision. I mean, that
no matter how much you want something sometimes, you got to look at the bottom line.
You have to, and because it will come back and haunt you later on.
Just because you want it doesn't mean you can afford it.
No, and again, I think it's good that you're going to back off and give it time to simmer and look at it from a lot of different angles.
And get public input.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, the reason you're seeing so much good growth and prosperity in Anderson is because of past boards' fiscal responsibility and not overextending themselves to the point where we're over the barrel. That's why people are coming to Anderson Township.
Well, and that's the success of Anderson Township.
It is.
That's where a lot of other entities, a lot of cities and townships and that counties even get too anxious and they overspend. And then it comes back to haunt them many times. And I think that's why Anderson Township is successful, because I think you've had over the years, and I only have known a few of you, but I've been impressed with the quality of individuals and the real focus on fiscal responsibility that you all have shown, and I think it's
been passed down.
Well, yeah, and that's why you're successful.
It has been passed down. We had good role
models.
models.
This is full of all the things that are going on. That those
It is.
people-
I encourage everyone, rather than just toss it in the trash, especially this first page where my photograph is. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think people should see that because they
No.
wouldn't recognize you on the street.
Oh, would you stop? It's at most post offices, right as you walk in.
Well,
Wanted.
I didn't want to mention that because I wanted to leave that up to you.
Now, we
I
do
know
have
we
our
have a serious
challenges.
problem.
Yeah, we do have a serious
You
problem.
have
I wanted to
serious
get to
problem
that.
I want to talk about.
We have an issue that is you're well aware of. It is not Anderson-centric. It is not Ohio-centric. It is across this nation. And we have a heroin epidemic. And I'm going to call it an epidemic for a reason. An epidemic, to me, is something that doesn't care about your socioeconomic class, your racial class, doesn't care. An epidemic affects everybody equally to a large extent. And we really have an epidemic in this country today. And I can't do anything about it outside of Hamilton County for a large part, because I'm a firm believer, if you want to solve problems, start locally.
Right.
So I'm trying to get information to people in the township, within the viewing audience, as to what resources, because we do have a lot of resources in Hamilton County. There is a Hamilton County Heroin Coalition that is currently being chaired by Mayor John Crownley, Cincinnati, and our newest commissioner, Dennis Dieters, from Hamilton County. And there's a bunch of committees on there and subcommittees, and we are spending, I believe last year in 15, I believe it was just for the coalition was $1 million, plus all the supplemental costs that go on down the line for the different things that they're doing.
Where is that funding coming from? Is that coming from the feds, or it's coming?
So I think some from the feds, but this is also an issue that the county has just in their budget to deal with. Now, where is it coming from? It's coming at the expense of something else, I'm sure.
Well, naturally. I didn't know if there was a stream of funding that was coming out of the feds or not to deal with it, or if it is.
Sure, some of it is.
Become a local. Pretty much, it's not a local. It's a local issue, but it's a national issue also.
Well, think about it from a township perspective. Now, I'm responsible for budgeting, and I have to look at our fire and EMS and say how many ambulances or how many fire stations do I need per 1,000 people, whatever the case may be, how many runs are being made. Now, if you're having a heart attack in your house, yet the closest ambulance is down the street helping or delivering Narcan to somebody for the third or fourth or fifth time because they're on heroin and they're trying to bring them back from an overdose, and you have to wait an extra 10 minutes for another, or 5 minutes, or whatever the case might be, for a second ambulance or for another ambulance from a different firehouse, how do I budget for that? I can't.
No, right.
This is eating up so many of our resources. We did have a crime spree going on here recently. They did catch the young men that were doing it, but they were, and we've put out numerous public safety warnings about don't leave anything valuable in your car. Well, value has gone down so much, it's like you have to start taking the change out of your console at night.
Correct.
That's how bad this problem has become. They will smash your window to get 50 cents out of your change cup to try to go buy their fix of heroin. That's how bad it is. I've had numerous, at least 2 personal people that I know affected by this that reached out to me and said, what do I do? So information is key. We did host a heroin summit here in the fall. When was it? I believe it was in November. And we're going to have another one. But we do have a website set up on Hamilton County. It's called injecthope.com. And on that website, you will have all the resources you could possibly hope to get. Meaning, if you wanted to find out how you report a heroin dealer, if you see somebody on a street corner, suspicious activity, and you think might be drug related, there's a hotline, 352-DOPE. You can be anonymous and report it. There's any number of informational resources available to people. People just want to know. They're overwhelmed.
Well, they are. I think that's part of the problem. I think that's, it's a problem for everyone from the standpoint. I think governments are struggling as to how to get their arms around it, and then individuals and families and are also struggling.
What we don't want to have happen is we have limited resources, and Hamilton County, by doing this coalition, wanted to have some coordination so that everybody was working together rather than fighting each other
Right.
or maybe overlapping in an area that you didn't need.
Yeah.
So this was a wonderful, I mean, I have to take my hat off to the leadership in Hamilton County for recognizing the problem and then organizing a coalition to help address the problem, and then trying to get this information disseminated to the public.
I guess, do you have any idea of how serious it is just in Anderson Township?
I will tell you that no community is immune. I will tell you that we see it across every social strata. How serious is it? I do know that not only do our EMS carry Narcan, but the Sheriff's Department's starting carrying Narcan as well to revive patients that have overdosed. Don't be under, what I'd like the public to know is don't be under the impression that it's not going to happen here. And
Exactly.
you need to learn by either reaching out to some of these resources or coming to our, if you can come to our next summit. When one of the ladies in Anderson reached out to me and started to tell me her story about what happened with her brother, I asked her, I said, so when did he steal everything that you had? And she said, well, I didn't tell you that. I said, I know you didn't tell me that he stole everything that you had. But he did, didn't he? And she said, yes. And because of the brave young man that we had at our heroin summit here that told his story, he stole, now he was the son, he stole everything that wasn't nailed down. We're talking jewelry, we're talking electronics, we're talking silverware, and sold it. And then lied, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And the family couldn't figure out what was going on. So there's certain warning signs if you have an inkling that there might be something going on in your family, don't dismiss it and don't ignore it, because the key is getting a head start on it and addressing the problem early. You know how addictive this drug is.
Yep, absolutely.
And they're mixing it, the statistics are just staggering. I mean, how we address it, I think we're going to need to have, we can't be scared of it and we can't ignore it. The way Mothers Against Drunk Driving made drunk driving a public issue and then made the penalties for driving drunk so steep that you had to think 2 or 3 times, do I want to have this beer and then drive home? I think the same approach needs to be taken with heroin, meaning I don't, and I'm not the answer, I'm not an expert, but my personal opinion is we need to make the penalties for distributing it so stiff that you're going to think twice about doing it. Now, there's resources out there for the addicts once you get addicted. There's, on this one website, I counted close to 10 treatment centers that you can contact for treatment. But wanting is the first step.
Well, that's the key, and then that seems to be the biggest issue is they got to want to get help, and even after they get help, unfortunately, there's the statistics are not really promising in that they're not going to go back to it.
No.
That's the sad part.
Some are better than others. I went to
Yeah.
a private treatment center in Norwood that has very high results, but they do take Medicare and Medicaid. But you just have to know they're there.
Yeah.
And there's any number, as I said, injecthope.com will give you all the information. We're going to have the website address on the screen. We're going to have some more information as far as resources on the screen that you can contact. But this is just something, it's eating up our public safety budgets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no question about it.
It's driving up your insurance rates. It's making your neighborhoods unsafe.
Yep.
And it is a problem an epidemic we need to address sooner.
How long, this organization here, is it fairly new?
The way it's been put together is newer. It's within the last year or two, because heroin, I had a meeting with the chief of police from Newtown, who's on the task force as the supply reduction officer on his title. And I asked him, he's 25 years in law enforcement. Have you ever seen anything like this? He's lived through pot, crack, powdered cocaine, you name it. He's never seen anything like this.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has.
Well, they're mixing, it's not just heroin, they're mixing with fentanyl, which is even more, which even makes it more the first time. And some of the dealers are actually giving away your first hit, whatever it's called, for free. Because they know once you try it, you're going to like it and you're going to get caught. But, you know, it's a downward spiral. Once you get on that slide, you're not getting off unless you are very lucky. No. You're going to have a support network of family and friends to stay on top of you.
Well, and also they're going to have to be the ones that help get you to where you need to get help, because I don't know that the ones on it are wanting to get help. I think they're just wanting more of it, which it seems to be part of the problem. But
it is so sad. It
really is. And I've talked to a lot of families myself that I've known personally, and I mean they've lost their children.
We had a story just one of the last bingo playoff games. Before that, they found a poor young man overdosed in the portalet.
Yeah.
And his mother bravely came forward and told his story and is trying to make a difference so that other young men or women don't end up overdosing in a portalet. We had I-74 was closed down a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Because a woman overdosed while she was driving with kids in the car. I just did a ghost ride down on 52 for the poor young bicyclist that was killed by someone who was on drugs, heroin.
Yeah, it's worse than we're running out of time, unfortunately, but it's almost worse than the alcohol situation.
Oh, because, far worse.
I mean, far worse, and that's the sad part about it.
I just want everyone to know, don't ignore it. Don't think it's not going to affect you. Get involved, get engaged. I ask our neighborhood churches to reach out and get involved with governmental officials. My fellow trustee, Josh Girth, is chairing a Much in Common leadership forum. He's a co-chair on it to try to put elected officials together. You know, I am the people's representative here in Anderson Township. And all I'm trying to do is be responsive to a need I see, everyone sees as needing to be addressed.
Well, it needs to be addressed. I think some tendency is put your head in the sand sometimes and say it's never going to happen to me. But I think this is one of the things that is happening to families least expecting it.
It's unlike alcohol.
Yeah.
It's unlike marijuana. It's unlike anything you've ever seen.
Give that address one more time because we're running out of time, unfortunately.
www.injecthope.com. And this is just the first couple of pages, but your resources that we have countywide are impressive and need to be utilized. You're paying for this as a citizen of Hamilton County. Your tax dollars are being used. Let's take advantage of it, get the help you need, and don't ignore it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really good discussion, and I hope people will take advantage of that information also. And thank you for being with us again. It's good to see you again. I should say we're taping this on Ash Wednesday, which is why I have this black spot on my forehead.
I'm not Catholic, so forgive me.
In case somebody's wondering what that is. We do thank you for joining us for this edition of Trustee Talk and making us part of your day. We hope you'll enjoy the rest of your day and that you will join us for our next edition of Trustee Talk when we'll get a chance to meet the newest trustee, Dee Stone, for our first time that we'll have a chance to meet her here on Trustee Talk on ACTV. We'll see you then.